everyone, welcome back. So this is my Zeiss Ikon Nettar. It's a simple 6x6 medium format folding camera. It's really cool. It was made in the 50s and I just got it, I guess maybe about a couple months ago, and I finally got around to taking some pictures with it that I'd like to show you. But before we take a look at some photos, I'd like to go over the features of this camera with you. It is a very simple, easy to use, compact 6x6 medium format camera. And the reason why I say it is compact is the fact that the lens simply folds back into the camera and it lays flat when you want to store it away or you're not using it. Okay, to load a roll of film in this camera, it's pretty straightforward. There's a latch on the side of the camera. You just slide that down, the door folds open, and then you have two compartments. You have your take-up spool on this side, and this is where your fresh roll of film goes in. And to get the roll of film in, you have to pull out on this little button here, and then we kind of angle the film in. And then that button pushes back into place like that. I pull some film across, I wind the take-up spool so that the slot lines up with the tab of the film, and then I start rolling it up, line it up, and there it goes. Alright, and again, once I see the start, I close the door, and then the next thing to do is you have to wind the film up until you see number one into the little red window. Now you may not see it here, but I'm going to just align this till it gets to number one. Since at number one, I'm ready to go for my first picture. First of all, as we hold it in this position, on the right hand side looking at the front of the camera is the release to open the door. You just press this, and normally the door would pop open, but mine needs a little help. I have to use my thumb to assist it to open. And then once it's open, it's now ready for taking photos. Okay, so now that I have a roll of film loaded into the camera, I can now go over the features and the functions of the camera. And first of all, the model that I have is the Nettar Signal. And this camera has a 75mm f4.5 Novar lens. And the difference between this one and the previous model is that when you take a picture and you release the shutter, a red flag shows up in the viewfinder that lets you know that you've released the shutter and that you have to advance the film again in order to take another picture. But the film advance and the shutter cocking mechanism, they are independent. So to get to the next frame, you advance the winding knob. You'll hear that click. Well, you may or may not hear that click. I'll go to the next frame, and once I'm there, I can then cock the shutter into position so that it's ready to be released to take a picture. And then your shutter release here is on the left. You depress that, and that releases the shutter. Now the shutter in this camera has only 4 speeds. It has B, it has 1/25th of a second, 1/75th of a second, and 1/200th of a second. It has an aperture range from 4.5 all the way up to f22. The viewfinder, though, is just a plain glass viewfinder. So in order to obtain a sharp focus, you actually have to guess your distance, or a similar situation that I use with my Rolly 35. I can either use a hyperfocal distance or I can use zone focusing to obtain sharp focus. And I did a video previous about my Rolly 35, so if you want to go back and check that out, I describe how I set up my zone focus and my hyperfocal distance in order to get correct focus. So the camera again is pretty simple. You have your shutter release, you have your cocking mechanism for the shutter, and then you also have the ability to screw in a cable release. which is kind of nice because you have a tripod mount on the bottom. And that's pretty much it. So there's 4 shutter speed settings, aperture range from 4.5 to 22, adjustable focus. Again, you either have to guess your distance or you have to set up a hyperfocal distance or zone focus. And once you do that, it's point and shoot. And when you're done, you can just press in on these sidebars, and they allow you to put the lens back into the camera so it lays flat. I would like to show you some photos that I've taken with my Zeiss Ikon Nettar. Now, the film that I used was Kentmere 400 and also Ilford HP5. What I did is I shot them at ISO 200 instead of 400, and I developed both of them in Rodinal at 125 dilution for 6 minutes at 68 degrees. I'd also like to thank Roger from Shoot Film Like a Boss for turning me on to this camera. He's done quite a few videos on this camera already, and if it wasn't for him, I would have never known about this camera. But I was looking for quite a while, and I finally found one that was in really nice shape and happens to be working very nicely also. So again, I'd like to show you some photos, and if you enjoy the photos, if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and once again, I thank you so much for viewing, and I'll catch you on the next one.